Yeah, did I? I've been off for years. Sorry.
How about you come and sit down where we can actually. Now we're testing. Yes, and it's on. And that's not the volume for it. That one. Yep. Testing. Okay. I still don't think we've got a lot of noise. Oh, can I have the box as well? Thank you. Okay. That does have noise. Excellent. So now that you're accredited awareness through movement teachers, how are you going starting your classes? Awesome. As it should be. So anyone want to give us a little comment on your experience, what you've been up to, what you've tried, what worked, what failed? Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yep. Yep. That gives you a clean slate to do whatever you like, doesn't it? Mm.
And the approach I took was to not sort of stand there and try and give a detailed exposition of the lesson and then go to the lesson. I kind of built it. It was funny. I had 4 days to get out of it. And certainly 4 hours before the lesson in the tent, trying to work out exactly how I was going to go about the intro. And that was a really good exercise and fun as well. Like going through sort of major points that I discussed and then finding that very back where I had kind of 4 elements and then I sort of spoke those through. Really well.
Great. So you did that preparation in the space, in the tent.
Well, I'd already I written up the lessons.
Yep.
Practiced them. I've done all that. But what I left over was
Yep.
on the day, I had ideas, but to what extent am I going to read stuff out or go through roads or actually sitting down with sort of done it without practice.
Mm.
Where instead of trying to intro, instead of doing that, kind of placing details
Cool.
in the context of the lesson itself.
Mm. That felt better?
Yeah, it felt better for me, and I think experience before is better experiential process rather than
Mm.
Anyway, my point in saying all this is that having done that, my idea was that I was going to start doing fortnightly.
Right.
It's like going away, and I understand about myself that life is worth it. See about myself there without
Mm-hmm.
still my intention is just to do it, something outside, something outside. There, one lesson for every 2 weeks, and get some ideas about how to feel some things in the workshop I did. My lesson, yoga people there, and people that haven't done themselves practice. It didn't work at all, but they came up and
Nice.
But it was interesting to me also because I've done workshops before, other stuff that I do, and been really nervous in the lead up and remained nervous throughout it. But
Mm.
this, as soon as I began, I think I just dropped it with a real sense of ease and groundedness in myself. And what I love about this method is that all of the things you practice and do, to go through and on the floor, all of the same qualities that
Mm. Yep. So did other people get any glimpses of that doing your practicums last year or in January? That even if you were a bit nervous beforehand, once you actually got into it, the lesson kind of carried you through. Cool. that's a good thing to remember. So I'm interested, Simon, in a couple of things. One, did you get any sense of the words or the language or the benefits that people said they got from it that gives you clues as to how to use that language again next time?
Yes. Because I was very much making a point of the fear.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. I was really happy with how it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Clarity and really clear. I really like how you actually
Yep.
sense.
Did you get, yeah, what I'm specifically asking is, did they give you any clues as to what benefit they perceived for themselves? Yeah, particularly for the yoga people. Yep. 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 Like. Yep.
They were talking about how anytime they were on the dance floor afterwards, the whole building being like a tree.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Right. And that was part of your theme, was sort of flowing around and, yeah.
People were amazed at the whole idea of spiraling.
There's a new headline for you. It's a thing. Mm. Great. Cool. Okay. So the other thing that that's interesting that that Simon said was going into the tent and doing some of his thinking in there. That one of the ideas that was offered to me many years ago in terms of presentation skills training was to go into the room and claim the space. The suggestion was that you kind of come in and you go around and you just kind of touch the furniture and say to yourself, this is my place. Because if you think about where you're most comfortable talking to a group of people, you know, would it be in your kitchen or at your dining room table or in your lounge room chatting with friends, where you have a sense of, this is my place, this is where I'm stable and safe, and I can speak from my sense of self. So it's an interesting technique to kind of get a sense of, this is my place, I'm at home here, and welcome all you people into my place, because now I'm going to share something of my experience with you. And so doing your preparation, even just that last little bit of imagining, you know, what am I going to say to these people in the space, then those thoughts become associated with this space. They're not just something I have to remember from a bit of paper at home in my bedroom. They actually belong here with me, where I'm comfortable, imagining talking to this group of people. So little things like that can really help with that sense of being comfortable and being present, being ready to interact with this group of people here. So, you know, that might be a little thing to play with. Mm.
There's something about that also, something I found made me feel really comfortable is to kind of share a little bit about my process and my vulnerability at
Mm-hmm. Right.
something that I really like about what you do as well, walking around and say something about, kind of like pulling back the curtain on what's actually really going on with the teaching
Mm-hmm.
process. And there, it closes up the teacher-student
Yep. We're a couple of people having a conversation. Yep. And I might not get it right and you might not get it right, but that's okay. We can have another go. Yep. Terrific. Okay. Has anybody else had a go at doing anything? Leonie. Hmm. Hmm. Heaven forbid you'd have fun in an ATM lesson. Mm. 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 Fantastic. Well, this is a theme I've actually been thinking quite a lot about recently is what if an ATM lesson was a game? Or could we, I mean, I know you've already started, I think, thinking about how would you take an ATM and turn it into an FI, but if you were to take an ATM and turn it into a game, what would be the critical elements? You know, can you look at the lesson and say, well, what are the constraints here? What would we need to find in terms of basic shapes? What are the intentions? What would be an instruction or an intention of this game that would evoke the movement that we want to evoke in this lesson? And do you think people might learn better if they had fun? Now, we don't have a lot of models for that, unfortunately, yet. Although Zoran did say something yesterday about, you know, how high would you need to be for the ball to roll under, or something like that. I think it's the next direction for us. You know, we've had lots of practice at, you know, being serious and earnest and you know, really going deeply inside. But maybe if we could actually have some fun as well, this work might take off. It can do. Did anyone else have fun? Leonie, can you chuck that to Silvana? Thanks. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. What a great idea. And that's not in the rules. Yeah, and I mean, I've heard in training rooms people say, you know, don't look at anybody else. They might not be doing it right. You have to do your own thing. You have to find your own way. But it is important for us to find our own way. But, you know, this is the first way we learn, was getting a sense of movement from other people, of noticing people standing up and walking, or being able to sit, being able to turn or to use their hands and arms. And taking that idea of how can I get the feeling that they've got is different from kind of looking at the outside and can I copy that shape? It's, I think, quite a profound difference. And so that might be an interesting thing for you to experiment with periodically. I know for myself, there have been times when I've really struggled in an ATM, thought, how on earth, that's ridiculous, it's impossible, you can't do that. Is that familiar? That must be wrong. And then I've kind of peered at somebody else who I have made the assumption that they know what the lesson's about, and thought, okay, there's a feeling that seems to be associated with that movement. Can I find that? And all of a sudden, the impossible becomes possible. And I achieve something and I feel really good. Okay, anybody else do anything that wasn't quite so fun? Well, Oh, well, yeah, that's all right. We've got time for a little more fun. Ah, now we're getting to the real learning, huh? Hmm. And they think they're coming to a dance class. Ha ha. Oh. So this is another interesting thing. Do we have to offer awareness through movement classes to teach the things that you've been learning in this context? Yes and no? Okay. It can be, yeah. And sometimes you need the way in through the traditional doors, and then there's a space to bring in some of the other stuff if it's then relevant and got meaning in that context. Cool. One more. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Good job. Okay, so that kind of leads me into the idea I thought we would play with today, and that is the idea of actually being in business. That, you know, many of us might have spent our lives being employed. Some of us have run small businesses and are familiar with the idea of having a receipt book and taking money and that sort of thing. But there's also the kind of management aspect of a business. So if you think about some of the things that a manager would need to do, what kind of tasks would fall into that role? Admin. Okay. So things like booking the venue and doing the publicity and marking the roll, doing the banking, keeping the books, all that sort of thing. Yep. So the emails, the phone calls, all that sort of stuff. Okay. What would the practitioner do? Networking? Yeah, now it's interesting to see whose job that is. The manager probably needs to organise it, but the practitioner needs to show up and talk to people. What else does the practitioner do? Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. 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 Yeah. Mm-hmm. Get into your state, prepare yourself. Yep. Mm. Yep. Okay, so that's separating the task from the person. You know, the practitioner didn't want to be involved with taking the money, and so sometimes we can put the book and the money box over there and let people do it themselves. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Yep. And so yep. No. Yep. Yep. Yeah, and it involves some kind of mental changing hats. You know, that's a term we use, whether you physically have a hat that you take off and you put your ticket collector's cap on and go and stand by the door. But separating those roles in some way is important, and it can be done spatially. It can be that when I'm here, I'm the teacher, and when I'm over there by that table, then I'm the office manager, and I will take your money and write your receipt and, you know, check that you have given me your details form with what I need to know about you or whatever it happens to be. So what I'd like you to do is get into groups of maybe 4 or 5, and if someone's got a piece of paper, that would be helpful. Jot down, as a practitioner, what are the things you would like your boss to do for you? Your boss. If you had a boss, well, occasionally practitioners are employed. Most of us have to do these roles ourselves and find a way of separating them. So let's just separate the functions and the role first and think about my if I had a good boss, this is what that person would be doing and how I would be treated and what would be expected of me and that sort of thing. Okay? Some people are lucky enough to have multiple people in their offices. They have the IT specialist, they have the marketing manager, they have the cleaner, they have, yeah, that's right. Okay. No, you can choose who you would like to work with, and if you choose quickly, you'll get the one you want. Ready, set, go. Okay. Have you got a few ideas captured? So can we just share the beginning of where you're at, because this is something that you may want to come back to at different times, but let's just begin the conversation. So which group would like to start? Okay. So what do you want your boss to do? Mm-hmm. Yep. 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 Right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. Okay. That's cool. So that's starting to get into the details, but you've at least started to separate what tasks you would like your boss to take responsibility for and what tasks the practitioner might do. Okay. Other group? Still going? Good, good. Yep. Does it have to be? Mm-hmm. Mhm. Yep. Yep. Okay, so that's starting to get into the detail. So marketing as a chunk, you want the manager to take, or the boss to take responsibility to ensure that it's done. Well, but to ensure that it's done is what I'm saying. So not necessarily to do it themselves, but to make it happen. Okay? And this is a really important distinction that these days, you know, running a business does require a diversity of skills, and most of us have not chosen to specialize in some of those business related skills. So why the hell would you waste your time doing it? All right. If you can put your partner at the door to collect the money, that's great. If you've got someone in your class that would do a swap of a place in the class in exchange for washing the towels or taking the money or doing your Facebook page, if it means you've got to give one more FI this week in order to pay someone who's specialising in small business Facebook stuff, but the boss needs to make the decision as to what's going to be done and to ensure that it is done. Yep. Cool. Okay, I was just saying to Zoran, we kind of have this model that Feldenkrais practitioners work alone and do everything all by themselves. And I think it's madness. Well, most of us do sit in our own little space and kind of bumble away by ourselves. And it's easy to get overwhelmed and get into the poverty mentality and all sorts of things. But, you know, one of the things that we're hopefully all encouraging you to do in this context is to figure out ways of cooperating and sharing and working together. That, you know, if there's someone here that has a knack of writing flyers, you know, what can you offer them in exchange for a bit of help to do yours? Can you sit down and have a bit of a chat about designing a workshop or selecting classes or preparing a particular lesson that makes it easier for you and that they get something out of it as well? Yes, so you can have your own local community, which can be a support, but you've also got this community and the wider Feldenkrais community that can be a support. And, you know, we've got friends and family, and there are all sorts of specialists out there now that are setting up to provide support and services. So my focus today is to say, what things should the practitioner take responsibility for? And I've noticed nobody actually said, I mean, Margaret said teaching, but nobody said, you know, preparing the lessons and, you know, doing the stuff. I asked you to sit down and ask what the boss should do today. But the boss, you know, has a really important role in managing this business to ensure that the practitioner can practice. So, another group. Yep. Maybe. You probably make a better income if you've got a decent website these days. Fit for purpose, not all singing, all dancing, but Silvana. Yep. Yep. Okay, right. Yep. Okay. I think it is, but it's not turned up high. So we can have a touch more, please. Twist and pull. Twist it first and then pull. That's it. It's got yeah, the light's flashing. Good. Chuck it to somebody else. It's on. It's on, Simon. Next group. Over here. Mm-hmm. It's on there.
Wow. My brain is just fried. I don't know what I was saying.
You can cope with taking money.
Okay, yeah. So I enjoy doing the accounting part of it. I'm good with numbers. I do the BAS. It was really hard to start getting, like, I do Xero and I've never used Xero as accounting, and but I enjoy it and I'm good at it. The thing I find hard is actually getting people selling myself. I suck at selling myself.
Mm-hmm.
I just like, I'm really good, come to me. And that part, and marketing myself. So I try to outsource that, but it does cost a lot of money. But then, I guess you just try. I probably could try and find people that in my network to help me out, but I really suck at getting people to help me. Asking for help.
Yeah. Yep, and that's where sometimes doing swaps can be useful, because we're much better at selling each other than selling ourselves. Yeah. And so, if you said to anyone in the room, "Can I write your publicity? Would you write mine?" Maybe that's a starting point, something to play with. Anything else you want your boss to do?
Yeah. Keep you on task.
Keep you on task. Okay.
Make sure that you are actually doing what you say.
That's pretty important for the boss to actually take responsibility for the direction of the business, to make sure that things happen, to actually have a vision and a plan, to decide, what's this practice about? What is this business here for? Who do I want to work with? To manage things like, you've certainly talked about the publicity in the venue and those sorts of things, but also to manage the employee, to make sure that they have decent work conditions, that they have regular hours, they know when they're supposed to turn up, they know what they're supposed to do, and they get time off, and that they get paid. Some of those sorts of things make the difference between a good boss and a successful business, or a very unhappy working relationship. Last group, have you got anything to add?
Yeah. So Leonie was talking about feedback, and I think that was sort of coming up in what we were talking about then. So not just positive feedback, but it's keeping you on track, so to speak. Yeah. But and what might come up in connection with that too is we're also talking about, it's best if someone else can talk about you sometimes, rather than you talking about what you've got to offer, if someone else is talking about what you've got to offer. So maybe a boss would, have those networks with, doctors or other health places and say, well, this is the service that is offered by so and so, rather than you going, because always has that sometimes for me has that little element of desperation. Look, I'm trying to build my own business, whereas someone else is promoting you. And even notice that with word of mouth, getting more clients or more people coming because someone else has been and recommended you rather than you out trying to promote yourself. That there is that little bit of separation which gives you a bit more sort of clout, really. Is that something else?
I've got another idea what I've with my partner, because he knows business wise I don't really do anything. I just, wait for the call and that's about it, finish the session. And I'm quite good, I'll chat to people afterwards or if they need anything else. And often I actually end up giving too much so that they don't need to come back for a little while. And which is kind of a problem because I give all these ideas,
So
things
would you like your boss to have a little stern word with you and
pretty
encourage
much
you to think through what would be appropriate? Yeah.
And he's got me to set dates to make me accountable. Okay, this is my business hour for the week where I focus solely on that. And then we have also a time every week that I speak to him and just say, look, this is what I've done in the previous week and this is what I'm going to do in the following week, what my plans are. So just having someone to answer to, it actually makes me do more than what I have been doing.
Good job. So this is just sort of the beginning of thinking about the separation of roles. If we are going to make this choice to be sole practitioners, then somehow we have to find a way to get the business managed and the business kind of vision created so that we know what we're doing, so that we can decide whether it's things we want to do with our practitioner hat on or with our owner hat on, or whether they're things we want to outsource to a professional or to somebody else that we know or that we can swap with or whatever, so that we can actually get on with doing what we want to do. But too many people, unfortunately, get kind of stuck in the swirl of not doing anything very much, that there's not the opportunity to do what they're trained for and what they're passionate about. So I want to encourage you to just start thinking about, who's going to manage my business so that I can be this practitioner that I'm preparing to be. Because the world needs us. There's plenty of people who will be able to benefit from what we can bring if the structure is there to support that. Check the box over.
Do people have any thoughts about joining in with what somebody's already doing? So, for instance, in Hobart, there's a practice that has, physios and people that look at your feet and this, that, and the other. I have no idea what sort of structures those places have. And
well, I think it varies.
Done that? And are they good, or do you get ripped off? Or?
Yes, both. So it is important for your business owner to make sure that he or she has some kind of vision for who you want to work with and how you want to work and that sort of thing, so that you're in a place to negotiate with other people. But yeah, there's a lot of advantage in being located where there are other people who are willing to cross-refer. But you need to pick people who do things that are distinctly different from what you offer and are perceived to be different, so that you don't feel like there's competition. They have to be people that you would actually be willing to refer to as well.
Many, many moons ago, before I was so hesitant advertising myself, I worked as a massage therapist, and I worked for a naturopath and I worked for a chiropractor. And they basically let me work they're cross-referred. You know, the chiropractor usually paid me for each client a certain amount of money to prepare the client, you know, relax the client for 20 minutes or so. And so that might be an option. I don't know if a multidisciplinary practice, like maybe with a chiropractor or osteopath, I don't know.
I suspect with chiros, osteos, and
physios,
massage and physio, but physio might be able to distinguish, but would you ever send anyone back to them? You know, unless you can be clear about what we do differently so that we can offer people back and forth, then you're kind of just in the same space and competing for the same people. But, you know, if it's a counsellor and a dietitian and a speech therapist or something, there could be fantastic synergies.
There are new laws for advertising, and all the osteopaths had to come in line this year that you can no longer say that you treat a condition or you help a condition. You can only possibly maybe help a person who has a condition, but you can no longer say that you directly can affect a condition. So you need to be aware of that.
Yeah.
That's osteopathy?
No, that's chiros and all
that's
sorts
the whole
of people.
lot. So,
Well, yes and no. I mean, we don't treat conditions and we don't offer cures or whatever. We always work with people.
but you just
But
need
the
to be
rules
clear.
tend to apply to things that are designated in the health sector. And we have kind of been very slippery about where we sit.
So you don't really want to tread on anyone's toes and bring your attention to yourself.
Yes.
I don't advertise anymore because it's really like I might be able to possibly help someone with something.
Some people have found this helpful. Yeah. We actually need to wrap up in a moment. Okay? 5 minutes. All right. Yeah, okay. Simon and then Fiona.
Just wanted to know what experience you might have had or other practitioners you know of trying to join into gyms. So who are doing the scheduled classes of, you know, pump and whatever their aerobic stuff.
Yeah.
But they now encompass yoga and all sorts of things that you have to look up and because you don't know what it means.
That's right.
So I wondered
there certainly are practitioners who work in a gym context. Well, there you go. There's someone to talk to. We can hear from you in a sec. What I have heard is that sometimes that's great. Sometimes it can be frustrating is in that you can have new people every week. So to follow a thread can be challenging. Sometimes the noise from the other parts of the area can be a challenge. And other times it's a great way of being in a space that people are coming and trying things that that you can begin to educate and spread the word. So, Kylie, do you want to say anything about that?
I just started working at this place, and it's a fitness centre. So they do have a lot of gym equipment, and they do spin classes and things like that. But it's kind of a holistic fitness centre. So she also does a lot of nutrition and has podiatrists come to speak to people about shoes. She sort of has a real relationship with all of the people who come to the gym and really wants to know what they're doing and how they're going and suggest programs for them and things like that. So the first class that I taught, which was just last week, actually she just contacted certain people in the centre and said, right, 1:30 Wednesday, be there, it'd be really good for you. So they had no idea what but they had 8 or 9 people or something in the first week because she can tell them to come and they will actually come and so I mean there's no
so how fantastic is that when somebody else tells people to come to your class? That's really the most well no that's the relationship that the boss has negotiated. Yeah.
But it's she sees even with the spin classes she has an instructor that doesn't smash people, like who wants them to get off the bike feeling good and feeling motivated to come again rather than just wiped out. So it's a kind of a philosophy that she has, and she does her own movement classes as well. So it's a philosophy that she has for the whole place that happens to fit well with Feldenkrais.
Yep. Cool.
So, how did you find that? An FI client of mine goes to the gym and he suggested it to her, so she called me.
Yep.
It was really nice.
It's who-nology rather than technology that makes the biggest difference.
Chronology, yeah.
Quickly, or ideally quickly. So my understanding is that we can't claim under work cover, but we can with high caps, but not with the machine. Is this not a good question to ask right now?
It's a bit of a detail, but the situation with work cover and transport accident is that the way those bodies were set up under state legislation, the only people who can work with people in those schemes are people who are listed in the schedule, and they include physios, OTs, remedial masseurs, psychologists, doctors, and there's maybe social workers and osteopaths. In Victoria, I think it varies from state to state. The rest of us, despite the fact that we are certified Feldenkrais practitioners, will not be paid, unless we're already also one of those other things. They do recognise the Feldenkrais method, but only when it's delivered by people with those other qualifications. We have explored changing it, and it does require changing the law. And unfortunately, the last person who went and asked the questions was told, "Don't rock the boat or you'll be out altogether." So,
Quite some time.
or words to that effect.
So you don't deserve to belong here anyway.
Yeah.
Shut
Now,
up.
it's a mixed blessing working with people in those conditions, and we don't need to go there at the moment. But that's that. Health insurance companies will rebate Feldenkrais in many cases on their extras cover. NIB doesn't, but Medibank Private does. Bupa, Teachers Health. There are several of them that do, and a lot of them have all combined together now anyway. So it does cover a lot of people. Yes, all Feldenkrais practitioners. They cover Feldenkrais method. With high caps machines, I understand that there is an intention at guild level to try and get us listed on people who can have one of those. But that, as far as I'm aware, is not the case yet. Hopefully it's coming.
Well, that was tricky. You become the employee of the insurance company.
Yeah, just say that into the box.
When you take on work cover or insurance, you then lose your right as a practitioner to be an independent practitioner. You then become the employee of the insurance company providing the care for that person. And it's been such a nightmare that we no longer do that. Because for me, it compromises my clinical analysis and my relationship with my client, because I have to follow their guidelines, and their guidelines, what they predict, and this is what we say that you need to do because this, and this. So we will no longer do work cover because I'm not going to be an employee of an insurance company.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you're working with people who, genuinely wanting to get well and taking advantage of the support that's available, which is great. And other times you're working with people whose real needs and issues haven't been addressed as to how come they got injured in the first place, and they're not ready to get well. So having people who've chosen to come to you and are ready to change is always easier to work with.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah. We will come back to some of these things in the future. You get a 5-minute break and 10-minute, 15-minute, 5, 10. You get a 10-minute break. Get yourselves refreshed and ready to play the next section.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thanks, Jenny.
All right. Just crawl around.